Hello, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Michael Jacobi, and I'm delighted you're with us today. Not only because I'm glad to see everyone again, it's been a little while, but also because this is such an important show. We're going to talk about stroke awareness. And with me in the studio, a dear friend, Chris Wilder. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Michael. Thank you for having me.
I'm delighted to have you. Chris, you were the former executive director of the Valley Health Foundation.
I still am that.
Which they have a new name now, right?
No,
Valley Health
The
Foundation?
Valley Health Foundation used to be the Valley Medical Center Foundation.
Right.
Yep,
And you're now on the board of the Stroke Awareness Foundation.
correct.
Now, both of us in our lifetimes have done a great deal of charity work and a great deal of nonprofit work. I said to someone once, it appears that we always have our hands out, and that's because we do.
We do.
It hit closer to home 3 or 4 years ago for you,
Yes, sir.
and really for all of us, and all friends of yours. It's there, but for fortune, and we all prayed for you, and we all, with your wonderful wife Kate, and we all sweated it out in those first few days. Take me through that day.
Thank you, Michael. I wasn't around for most of that, but Kate apparently looked over at me and saw that my face had slumped, and somehow, over the course of her life, she had learned all the signs of stroke, and she knew right away I was having a stroke. So she didn't waste a second. She said, "Can you raise your arms above your head?" And I could raise one, not the other. So she grabbed the phone and called 911, which
Now,
was very lucky because, she's English. So she could have dialed 999 instead.
Well, but were you aware? You were saying you weren't there for much of it.
Nope, I
were
was not aware at all.
Of it?
Had
But
no idea.
You weren't aware of responding to her when
Nope.
she asked you those questions.
Nope.
So you black out essentially.
Well, not everyone does, but I don't remember any of it.
Okay.
But what I know is that the EMTs responded very quickly, and they loaded me up, and they took me to Good Samaritan Hospital very fast.
All right. This is something that we're a reoccurring theme, and rightfully so, during this show. They called the hospital right away.
Yes, you have to do that.
They took me real fast.
Yep.
First, but again, you have been fortunate. Not only your wife was there, you've been blessed that she's continued to be with you and help you with your recovery.
Yep.
But had she not been, what would have happened?
Well, had she not seen the stroke,
Yeah, had you been by yourself?
well, I probably would have died
Yeah.
because one of the first things they realized is that my brain was swollen because I had a brain bleed, and so they had to go in and do emergency brain surgery there at Good Samaritan, and they took a big giant chunk out of my skull, and that caused my brain to balloon out of my head, and they removed one of my temporal lobes. We have two. Apparently, they say now, because I can still speak and understand speech and make memories, that my other temporal lobe somehow took on all that functionality, and it's now doing double duty.
And they're shocked, aren't they?
Everyone is shocked by how well I'm doing.
Yeah. And it just wasn't one brain surgery.
Well, it was the one to remove the
The
skull cap
pressure, yeah.
and that part of my brain that was damaged, and then they had to do another one at Valley Medical Center when they put a big chunk of plastic, which was scanned and 3D printed by my friend and brain surgeon Marco Lee, and he put me back together at VMC.
Uh-huh.
So here I am.
So at what point during all this, I mean, was it the next day that you were aware of what was going on? Or?
Oh, no.
No.
No, I was in a coma for a couple of weeks.
Okay, all right.
Yep, I had no idea what was going on until I had woken up and at some point realized that I had tubes all over my body. I had a drainage tube in my head. I had a feeding tube, and I had a tracheotomy. And it was somewhere around there that I began to realize what had happened to me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, having been in the industry, at some point the light came on, and you knew what had happened.
Yep.
When you came out of it, did you have memory problems at the beginning?
Sure I did.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing was, the first thing I noticed, I looked up on the wall and there was an analog clock, but all the numbers and the hands were in the wrong places.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's a really mean trick to do to someone who had a stroke. Put a jumbled clock on the wall.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after that, you can imagine, I realized that the clock was fine. It was my processing ability that was not fine.
You, and I'm going to ask you to tell it again, and if you can't, that's okay, I will tell it. But you gave one of the most extraordinary metaphors for what happens when you have a stroke.
Oh, sure, I
about
remember.
Your library.
Yeah.
Share that.
Well, what happened to me, and it happened to everybody who's ever had a stroke or a major brain injury, is that it's like there was an earthquake in my head, and all the shelves in my library fell over in the earthquake, and the night cleaning crew came in, propped all the shelves back up, and put the books in random order. So I still find myself having to go search for those books. But I'll tell you something recently that's helped me. Over the past few months, I've been microdosing magic mushrooms,
Psilocybin, yeah.
psilocybin mushrooms, microdoses, and that's helped my recall.
Has it really?
Yeah, it has.
Now, when you were doing the major doses years ago, did that hurt your recall?
I doubt it.
So, yeah, that is a field. That's a show in itself.
Yep.
The whole microdosing deal. It's amazing how many people are helped with that with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yep.
Right down the line. That is such a marvelous metaphor for the library, and then putting it back in the wrong order. It's just amazing.
Yep. I spend a lot of time still searching for books.
I was going to say, how close is it to the right order now?
Oh, any given day, someone will ask me a question, and I'll have to go try to remember. And what I mean by that is go find the book.
Yeah.
And it sometimes takes me a minute. Sometimes it takes me half the afternoon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I'm a long way from perfect yet.
Yeah. You and I have known each other probably 30 years, and two of and there are obviously there are a lot of downsides of a stroke. You loved golf, and you were a great musician, in my mind.
Thank you.
You don't have to say it yourself. That's got to be tough. I mean, as much as and I'm guessing, but as much as you say, "Oh, thank God I'm alive. At least I'm alive. At least I'm alive." Oh, damn! I can't play golf. I can't play guitar.
Every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, I can play guitar and bass with this hand only, but every day I work on exercises to get this arm back and reconnect this arm to my brain.
Yeah.
But every day I go into my music room, which is also my therapy room now, and I see all my guitars and my amps and my golf clubs, and it's terrible.
Yeah. Though, are they inspirational to see?
Sure they are.
I'm sure it was very depressing at the beginning.
Oh, it still is.
Yeah, but it's got to be less depressing.
It's
I mean, I
less-
saw a video of you that Kate took that you were putting, or
My putting has improved.
Yeah, I remember you have played in my golf tournament so
Yep.
many times.
No,
Yeah.
putting with one arm
Yeah.
turns out to work pretty well.
Oh, sure. You watch
But-
John Daly hit chips with one hand.
Yep.
That's great.
But you know what else I'm doing?
Yeah.
I got this strap. You can put the strap around my golf glove on this hand,
Yeah.
wrap it around this wrist to hold the other wrist
Right.
and the club in hand, and I'm able to swing that way.
Oh, good.
So for the first time in a week, I'm going to Top Golf to see how well I can do.
Well, when this first happened, I would have the bad taste to say that you're such a good golfer that God gives you strokes.
Yep, you do have the poor taste to say that.
And your wife was angry.
But it was funny anyway.
It was. Is there anything that contributes to strokes?
Sure.
I mean, can you? I know people always say, "Here's what you do if you get one. Here are the signs." But is there a preventative?
Of course there is. I mean, most Americans, let's face it, walk around overweight,
Yeah.
and too many Americans have terrible diets and drink too much.
Yeah.
Not every American does that, but if you find that you're drinking too much, and everyone out there in TV land knows who they are, cut back. And if you're overweight,
Lose some weight.
yep, cut down on the bad food and the carbs, lose some weight.
But now you drank a lot of wine. As a matter of fact, you have your own winery.
Sure, but
But
before my
you
stroke,
were a vegan before your stroke.
still am.
Still okay. So
Yeah, my
weren't
diet
you
was
eating
okay,
pretty
but-
well?
Yeah, except it's easy to eat a lot of junk food even as a vegan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad vegan food out there, and too much carbs, too much pasta and stuff like that. Not good for you. But just before my stroke, during COVID, I was drinking way too much.
Yeah. Oddly enough, my daughter Kate, which she's been married 4 years, and for her wedding, when they were about to get married, I started walking 10,000 steps a day.
Good for you.
Which I have done ever since. And I saw something that walking, and because I continue to drink and eat poorly, but I understand that 10,000 steps a day reduces your chances of a stroke or heart attack like 42%.
Oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sure, that's a super healthy thing to do for yourself.
My drinking puts it up 80%, so
Yeah,
you got to
yeah.
average it. But
Well,
anyway,
whatever you can do, and reducing stress in your life.
good luck with that.
Yeah, I know.
We're talking to Chris Wilder, a dear, dear friend who is on the board of the Stroke Awareness Foundation. We'll talk a little bit about more of that in just a couple of minutes. I want to take a minute. Normally this is the time of the show where we thank our sponsor and do a commercial. We don't have a sponsor today. And we don't have a sponsor because the good folks, my dear friend Melissa Torn, here at KCAT and the board have waived production costs, and George, and we're all doing this for free. I'm not taking a salary because this is important to us. And this is what is so very special about local media, like KCAT. I've worked with these folks since Jazz and the Plaza, for years, and they make such a difference. And they're always there for the town and for the citizens, and they not only talk the talk, they walk it every day. On behalf of myself, Mr. Wilder, and all the folks that view us in Los Gatos, say a big thank you to KCAT.
I agree.
Yes, indeed. All right, that having been said, so let's talk about the Stroke Awareness Foundation. First of all,
Yep.
we'll put this, I noticed on the screen, their website is what?
Yep. The website is strokeinfo.org.
Strokeinfo.org. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so what does the foundation do?
So in 2020, the organization was founded after 3 community leaders had strokes. It was Pat Dando, Chuck Hoffman, and Chuck Tennisketter, and they came together and said, let's do something about making sure that our local community hospitals are ready for anyone who's had a stroke. So the first part of their mission was to help hospitals become stroke certified. So they went to all the hospitals in Santa Clara County, and Good Samaritan was the first one who became a stroke certified hospital.
Okay.
And that matters because if you're taken to a stroke certified hospital, there are things they can do for you right away that will reduce the harm that the stroke can have on your brain and your body. Now, I got involved when, after I came home from my hospital stay, my old friend Chuck Tennisketter called me on the phone and said, Chris, I've been talking to the board. We'd like to invite you to join us. Mm-hmm. Well, what was I supposed to say at that point? Obviously, The answer was, of course, you bet, I'm in, count me in.
Was the irony not lost on you that for so many years you worked with folks that needed help? And
there was no irony at all. It's half the reason they called me.
Yeah.
Said, wow, Chris, you know a lot about this already, which I did.
And they had experienced it themselves.
Yes, they
did.
did.
So it wasn't a pity party. It was a matter of fact, hey, buddy, we've been through this.
Yep.
Let's do something.
Yep, and I wanted to be close to the organization anyway because an organization like them, they also provide direct support and peer mentoring for people who have survived strokes. And they've got an app on the website that you can download, and it will give you all the ways that you can prevent a stroke in your own life or your own family, and what to do if you have one, and what are the signs of a stroke. A couple of them I mentioned earlier, but fortunately my wife knew. She doesn't even know how she learned them, so it could have been a campaign that the Stroke Awareness Foundation waged, and they do a lot of that. So a lot of our mission is these days on education and teaching the community about the signs of stroke and how to get to a hospital quickly.
Yeah.
making sure that you call 911.
Your relationship with Kate has always been a wonderful love affair, and it's like it's gone to a new level. It was like we got a test.
Well, this is one heck of a test,
Yeah.
and I'm very lucky. I'm a
Yeah.
super lucky man. I know you feel the same way about your marriage
Yeah.
to the lovely Mrs. Jacobi,
Yeah.
who I'm pleased to know well as well.
Yeah. Thank you. So we talked about how long was your hospital stay?
That's a good question. I think it was
Finally.
about 6 or 7 months.
So
And-
after a couple of months, you were in a coma for what? 2 months, did you say?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. But after that, you were well aware of what was going on, I take it.
Yes, I was. And in fact, my rehabilitation journey started while I was still in the hospital.
Okay.
And the team worked with me on teaching me how to dress myself, how to get up, take care of myself, how to get myself in my wheelchair. Things that are still difficult, but I can do them in large part thanks to the rehab team at Valley Medical Center.
And then after you left inpatient, what was your schedule from then on, and what is it now?
Well, I'm still seeing a therapist, at least one therapist, usually two, a couple days every week. I've got a physical therapist, and I have an occupational therapist. And at this point, the therapies seem the same to me. But in the beginning, occupational therapy is all about learning to do the daily tasks of getting around and taking care of yourself so that Mrs. Wilder doesn't have to do it.
What
And
what is? It's hard to rate them, but frustration or patience. I mean, what's tougher? Because there's a frustration angle, maybe based on you don't know if you can do that, but you've made such progress. You
Yep.
can say to yourself, "I'm going to do this," and then impatience
Yep.
becomes a problem.
yes, there's a lot of both
Yeah.
and a lot in between.
Yeah.
You know, every day I can see a little bit of progress that I'm making. I had a tough therapy session this morning, and we did things that just a month ago I know I could not have done. So there is still progress. I'm able to walk now on my own.
Which they did not expect, right?
Now, in the beginning, there were some doctors that told Kate, you should be ready to make a decision about whether we should pull the plug.
Really?
Because we're not sure he can come out of this coma. And if he does come out of it, whether he'll be able to recognize anyone or talk or move or anything. So here I am defying those odds. But what that tells me is anybody who has a stroke or someone in their family who has a stroke, never give up hope. And you got to be ready to work hard.
Yeah.
And if you work hard, it's amazing what you can accomplish.
How close did you come to giving up?
I've never been close to giving up.
Never at all.
No, it would not be fair to the people who believed in me and who've been working hard for me ever since I had my
So
stroke.
even at the beginning,
Even in the beginning,
good for you.
I knew it would be hard work, and it has been. And there are some days that it's so hard that I just want to say, you know what, today let's take a day off of therapy.
Okay.
And then I change my mind and say, you know what, they're all hard.
Yeah. What are you proudest of?
I'm proudest of my wife hanging in there, taking wonderful care of me all this time, and my ability to believe in my therapy team and my team of doctors and to do what they say so that I can take care of myself. I can cook, I can feed myself.
I'm sure that you've had no small number of epiphanies along the way, but give me one that you went, Jesus, I did it, that you didn't expect.
Well, I have this big ramp now that my friend Don built that goes from my driveway up into the house. And without that, I could not have even gotten out of the hospital and come home.
Yeah.
But now I can walk down that ramp and up the driveway. And I can walk down the driveway and back up the ramp and into the house. And that still amazes me that I can do that.
Yeah, that's great.
But there are a lot of things that are hard. But with hard work, you can accomplish them.
How happy was your dog to get you home?
Well, I have 3.
3. I have 4.
Yep,
so,
you know about that.
Yeah.
They were thrilled that I came
They
home,
were,
but
yeah.
Kate made sure I saw them before I was even out of the hospital.
Good.
She was waiting at the bottom lobby in the hospital, and I had somebody take me downstairs so that they could see me and smell me and I could pet them. So they knew where I was, and I've been missing them the whole time.
Yeah.
But coming home was certainly wonderful.
Apart from working with a foundation which you're intimately aware of and involved in, the whole idea of doing something, that's got to be a big deal.
Oh yeah, always is. Got to do a lot. And anybody who has had someone in their life have a stroke and they've never been out to our stroke walk, they can do that every, I'm cheating here a bit, but it's in May usually. We've varied it a bit over the years, but in May we have a big walk around the Rose Garden in San Jose. It's really fun. We have live music, all kinds of vendors, lots of fun. You can go to the website, which you heard and is on the screen, and learn about the stroke walk and join us.
To quote an old song from the 50s, little things mean a lot. What do you is particularly precious to you now that wasn't, perhaps you might not have noticed the sunrise?
Oh no, I've always noticed the sunrise and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I don't take any days for granted, and any ability I have to work hard and improve my health, I take that. So, I used to avoid running and avoid going to the gym, and if I ever get a chance to do those things on my own again, I would absolutely take those things and not avoid them.
We have spent a lot of time together over the years, and we haven't for a couple of years, and I'm just delighted to see you again.
Well, I've missed you, and I've missed this.
God bless you, pal.
Thank you, Michael.
Chris Wilder, that is Talk of the Town. And, special day. Hope to see you soon. Until then, I'm Jacobi. Take care.